Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. I'm Oluwato saying if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. So guys, in today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful Ankara pants with elastic band on the waist. So guys, let's jump right into it. Definitely we are going to be working with this beautiful African print, a pair of scissors, chalk, then tape rule, then of course we need our basic measurements which include the length. The length in this case is 16. We're also going to be needing the waist of the trouser. The waist is 33, and then the hip is 41. Then we'll also be needing the crouch for the front and the back. The crouch at the front is 12, the back is 14, and then the tie. The tie close to the crouch is 25, and then the tie at like the tip of the trouser is 23. So without talking too much, let's just jump right into this video. Guys, this video is going to be very beginners friendly. Like, it will start from you knowing the quantity of fabric you require to cut for different measurements. To start from there, and then we gradually go till the finished look of this short. So guys, moving ahead, then this short is definitely an high waist short. You can make it low waist, you can make it high waist, but in this case we are working with high waist shorts. So guys, with my experience with teaching people how to cut and sew online and offline, I have a lot of people have problem. I realized that a lot of people have problem with how to cut trouser, how to know the exact quantity of fabric required to cut trouser for this particular person and all of that. So here is how to go about it. This is a 6 yards of Ankara. I cut it open. I didn't bring out 1 yard or whatever. I did not. I just want to show you guys how to know the quantity of fabric required. So I'm going to fold my fabric into two, just like I did in this video. Now, to know where to stop my fold, all I have to do is pick up my measurement, check for the highest measurement between the waist and the hip. In most cases is the hip, but in few cases it can be the it can be the waist. Let's say the person is pregnant or thereabout. So in the case of this person, is her hip. Her hip is 41. I'm going to be dividing the 41 by 4, which gives me 10.5. That's what I marked there. Then I'll be adding sewing allowance of 1.5 inch. Guys, right now what we are cutting is the front panel. After cutting the front panel, we'll use it to cut the back panel. So after adding 1.5 inch sewing allowance, we are still going to add 2 inches allowance to extend the crouch. So in total, the hip divided by 4 plus 1.5 inch sewing allowance and 2 inches allowance to extend the crouch. So anywhere your marking is where you will stop your fold. So in that case, you've gotten the exact quantity required to cut the front panel. The next is we are going to be measuring the length. This trouser is high waist, and then it has a band of 2 inches. So I put the 2 inches up, invisible like that. Then I measured the length, which is 16. I added 3 inches sewing allowance to the length. When you're cutting trouser, it's always advisable to add 3 inches to the length. So I added 3 inches, and in this case right now I've gotten the exact fabric I need to cut the front panel of that short. So I'll just go ahead to cut it out. The next thing now is to cut the back panel. So to get the exact quantity of fabric required also, I'm going to maintain this particular fold. I'll make sure it doesn't scatter. Then I'm going to add 2 inches on each side of the butt. That's 4 inches in total. You know, back panel for trousers generally, whether long or short, is always bigger than the front panel. So I'm just going to add 2 on the left, 2 on the right. That makes it 4 in total. So I'll mark my 4 and then we fold my fabric to wherever that 4 stops. I hope it's making sense, guys. So then I'll go ahead to place the front panel on top of it because the length is still the same, and then I'll go ahead to cut it out. So what I have at the back now is 2 inches, extra 2 inches, 2 on the right, 2 on the left. That's 4 in total, but since it's on fold of 2, is extra 2 inches. So moving ahead, guys, at this point I can now start placing my measurements on my fabric because I've succeeded in getting the exact quantity I need to cut what I'm trying to cut. The next thing now is to measure the crouch. The crouch is 14 and it has band of 2 inches, so I'm not going to forget that. I'll place my two up just the way I'm doing in this video, and then I'll mark my 14 and just run a straight line on that part. The next I will do is to measure the waist. This person's waist is 33, so I'll divide the 33 by 4. It gives me 8 and quarter, 8.25, 8 and quarter, whichever way you prefer to call it. Then I'm not going to start my measurement from that 2 at the back panel. After measuring the waist, I'll go ahead to measure the hip. I'll just a little bit above the crouch line is where I'll measure the hips, which is 10 and quarter because it's 41. Then I'll be adding 1.5 inch sewing allowance. I'll realize that what is remaining at the end of the day is automatically 2 inches, and that 2 inches is what I'll be using to extend my crouch. I don't know if you guys understand, guys. So after then, I'll go back to where I measured the waist. I said the waist is 33, but because it is an elastic band on the waist, I'm going to use 39. I'm not going to use the 33 because if I use 33, it will not pass when the person is wearing it since there is no zip. So I'm just going to mark 39 divided by, do you guys understand? Or another way to do it is that I will just mark dotted line from the allowance of the hip. I'll mark dotted line upward just like I did in the video, and from that where that dotted line stops, I'm going to go inward by 1 inch and mark my allowance there. Then I'll be connecting allowance to allowance just like this. I'll have something looking like this. After then, I will extend my crouch on up to where that 2 inches stops. So I'll just extend my crouch like that. Guys, I hope I'm explanatory enough. I hope I'm making sense. So the next thing I'll do is to measure the thigh. The thigh close to the crouch is 25. I'll divide it by 2. In this case, not divided by 4. It gives me 12.5. Then I'll add 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Then the crouch at the thigh at the tip of the trouser is 23 divided by 2 plus 1.5 inch sewing allowance. After doing all of this, I'll go ahead to cut it out. And when I'm done cutting it out, I'll have something looking just like this. I hope you guys have something looking like this too. So moving ahead, the 2 inches at the back, we don't really need the 2 inches at every region at the back. We only need it at where the butt is itself. So at the upper part of the waist, I'll go inward by 1 inch. At the side part, I'll go inward by 1 inch also, and just look for a way to connect it. Just do what I'm doing in the video. It's that simple. Then I'll go ahead to trim it out. After trimming it out, I have something looking like this. And guys, this trouser is not going to have any form of that because it's elastic on the waist. It's not band. If there is band, we would have added that. So at that part, I'll go inward by 1 inch and look for a way to trim it out so that there will not be like an excessive fold at the front of my knicker. So the next thing I will do is I have to reduce the front crouch. The front crouch is 12 and then the back is 14. So I'll go inward with 2 inches and look for a way to cut it out just like I'm doing in the video. So the front crouch becomes a little bit lower, not a little bit, 2 inches lower than the back crouch. Lovely people, moving ahead, we have to mark where our pocket is going to be at this point, and to do that, from the waist, measure 2 inches downward, then measure 6 inches downward and put a notch at those 2 points. That's where the pocket is going to be. But if you are cutting these shorts for an extra large, somebody more than like size 16 above, you have to use 7 inches because that's the entrance of the pocket. That's where the person is going to be putting a hand inside. And if it's an extra large person, 6 will not be enough. So after then, I went ahead to cut the pocket. This is the pocket. Basically, there's no serious calculation or measurement to cut the pocket. Just make sure it's bigger than the entrance of, or is longer than the entrance of the pocket. So I use 10 by 12 in this case. After then, guys, I'll go ahead to cut the band. The band now is nothing serious. I just know that it's 2 inches So I cut 4.5, you know, 2 now, unfold 4 with the ½ inch that I'll use to add it to join it to the waist. So I made it 4.5, and then I made sure that the length is longer than 39. So I used 41 by 4.5. So we are done cutting. The next is sewing. I took it to my sewing machine, and then I attached my pockets already on the both sides. Don't worry guys, I'm going to make a comprehensive video on how to attach different kinds of pockets in my subsequent videos. So I've attached the pockets on the two sides. The next thing is to join the crouch together. So I'll face right side to right side. This is the front panel now. I'll face the right side to right side, then I'll go ahead to sew a straight stitch across where my finger is running across. I'll do the same thing to the back panel, then I'll bring it back for you guys to see what is looking like. So after joining the crouch together for the back panel and the front panel, here is what I have something looking like this. It's already looking like a short at this point. So the next thing to do is to shape. To shape, I have to put the two panels together. I mean front and back panel, right side facing right side. And after doing this, I realized that the front panel is obviously smaller than the back panel. No worries guys, there's nothing to worry about. I'm not going to shape it like that and cut out the bigger side. No, all I have to do is put them together just as I'm doing in this video and make sure they are equal, so that there will be like excess fold inside. So I'll just make sure they are equal, and then I'll pick up my taper. I'll not worry about the other side yet. We are coming back to it. Now, working on this side, I'll pick up my tape rule and start sharing my measurement. I used 39. Please listen attentively, guys, at this point, because this is where it gets trickish. I used 39, but while I'm trying to divide my 39 by 4, I'll not forget that there's already 2 inches waiting inside for me on the left and on the right. That's the excess that I put inside. So I'll do 39 minus 4 because 2 on each side, and whatever it gives me is what I'm going to divide by 4. I hope that is clear enough. So 39, the measurement you are working with, minus 4 inches that is waiting for you inside at the both side, and then whatever you get is what and then the answer divides by 4. Whatever it gives you is what you are shaping, and then you do the same thing to the other side. So after shaping, guys, here is what I have something looking like this. You should have something looking like this too. I left that small space open because that is where I'll pass the band from, and that's where the band will stop. So guys, the next thing I'll do now is to measure the tie. To measure the tie, this is the tie side of the short. I'll go ahead to divide my tie by 2. That means my 23 divided by 2, and then my 25 divided by 2. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. That's the other leg now. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it and come back to show you guys what is looking like. So guys, after sewing, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to sew that part. Then I already folded the leg at this point. So the next thing is to attach the band on the waist. And to do that, just have to fold the band into 2, just like I'm doing in the video, and then sew it around the waist from one side to the other side of the waist, and basically that's it. Then I went ahead to weave the inside. If you have a weaving machine, you should do the same, but if not, it's fine. Then the next is to pass my elastic inside, and to pass the elastic inside, I just have to know the exact quantity of elastic I need. I'm still going to make a video on how to know the exact quantity of elastic required for each waist, so watch out for that video, guys. And guys, this short has a shirt on top of it. It has a top, so I'm going to make a video on how to make a top for it in my next video. So guys, here is the short. It's so adorable. Don't forget to give my video a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll see you in my next video.